Hi, everyone. Welcome to our tremendous leadership fans. And today I am excited to introduce our next release from one of our tremendous authors. And it is the one, the only Gerry Savage. Gerry, welcome.
Tracey, it's great to be here. Appreciate your time this morning.
I love it. Well, Gerry is a South Central native like myself, or we know each other from South Central PA. He knew my father. We run in similar circles. I've interviewed him on my Leaders on Leadership podcast. And Gerry has already written a book, but he came to me, I want to say at least a year and a half ago, with an incredible manuscript, and it was titled The
Okay.
Janitor. And Gerry, tell me a little bit about how this manuscript came to be and what it was like producing it.
Well, I had written my first book a couple of years ago. The book was The Four Pillars of Sales, which was essentially a book on salesmanship and leadership and combining the two. And I was always a fan of Og Mandino from early on. Many people know Og Mandino and his parables. The one that I think is probably still in print. You would know better than I, but the greatest salesman in the world, which is a great parable. And I ended up reading all of Og Mandino's books. He was from New England, and I really liked the sense that you could take something away from those books. The stuff that we're seeing today is it's not that it's not good; it's all good stuff, and but it's more the heart pounding. You have to change your state if you want to be successful. You have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do this. Well, the books that Og wrote were simply books that you could take a message away from, and the way we learn, and the way that I've learned, and I found that things stick with me is through stories. So when you tell a story, whether it's in sales or in a conversation, things stick with you because the story becomes a metaphor. It's a metaphor for what you need to take away from it, change your life, change your direction. And ultimately, in this book, it's changing your destiny by asking the right questions. And so I sat down, almost 2 years ago. I was at my cabin in Maine, and I had this idea about this janitor. And so I sat down over the weekend and wrote like 8,000 words. And I'm like, okay, next thing you know, the janitor evolved. And then you and I started talking about it, and it just came to a completion. It came to a story that I think a lot of people are going to relate to. A lot of people are going to be able to take something away from this book, and I hope it changes lives. I hope people look at this book and say, okay, I need to ask myself better questions, and if I ask better questions, what will that lead to? And because so many people in business get up and they go to work and they have a very good life, but the question I've always asked, is it their life's work?
Mm.
Because if something's your life's work, you're never going to retire from it. You're going to want to continue to do it because that's your legacy. And your legacy is changing lives that you're never going to know about. Essentially, when you're gone, those words live on. And for me, that's tremendously exciting.
I love it. Well, I love that you let our listeners know it is a parable, and they always say that the greatest communicators are storytellers. And the more I get into my speaking career, I absolutely realize that to be true. I mean, Jesus spoke in parables. That's how we learn. So I love that you really the crux of this is, and you hit on it. When life is good and you're doing good, and again, the main character in this book has a successful life, but is good your best? And when you're good at what you do, but you really have a calling or a passion for something else. And I don't know anybody out there that intrinsically does not somehow feel this yearning that, hey, but there's something else that I want to do. And the book really
Right.
unpacks that in a beautiful story.
Yeah, it does. And I don't want to give the story away. You have to read the book if you want the story. But it does it in a way that's easy for people to understand and relate to.
Hmm.
Um, the story does combine business and horses because that's another passion of mine, but that's just the means to the end. The end is really what is it that somebody wants to do with their life and finding that. So whether that's horses or whether that's painting pictures or whether that's it could be anything, and the storyline leads somebody to asking the questions that will get them there, and with a little help from advocates advocates, the people that we hold close to us, that circle of people that will pick us up when we're down, but give us a kick in the what if we really need it, because they're there for us in a way that pushes us along and actually brings out the best that we have to offer. And that's what I hope people will take from the book.
Yeah, and you hit on it. You integrate your passion, but then, I hear from a lot of people, but you have to keep the revenue going because, you have to fund your life and pay your bills. But how do you
Mhm.
kind of evolve and weave several things together that you love into this tremendous blend of crafting your ideal future? And I work with a lot of people as far as that's concerned. I know I have several different tenets that I love bringing together. I couldn't pick just one. And I love that your book really hits on that because I find with in real life, a lot of people they struggle with that.
Right. And there's there's a there's a fine line between doing what you have to do to get by and doing what you really want to do. And you just hit on it. It's how do you get there? How do you weave that into, okay, I'm working every day, I'm caught up, I'm on that hamster wheel, but I'm not getting anywhere because I'm running fast on that hamster wheel and I've got income coming in, but it's not really what I want to do. So this book puts people in a position where they can draw that conclusion for themselves and say, okay, yeah, you know what? I think I can do this. And then you start asking better questions. It's like, okay, what is it that I want to do? And then once you ask yourself that question, it's the next question, it's your mind's going to give you an answer. How do I get there? Okay. And then what do I need to do to get there? And that sets you on that journey of a thousand miles. And that begins with one step, right? We all know that Chinese parable, okay? And it's like it takes us if we're going to get there, it begins with one step, but you got to know what it is that you want first. You know, people ask, okay, so you have a desire to do something, but desire is not enough. You have to draw purpose from that. And once you draw the purpose, that's when you'll start asking the questions about, okay, how do I get there? And then that becomes passion. And your passion to get there will keep you going, and that's fuel. And the book talks about all of that, and it brings it in a really simple way, with some, I think, great characters that help you form that. And I think that people can relate to. I think real people can relate to. It's a story that we all can relate to, and we can put it into our own lives and our own situation.
Yes. Well, Jerry, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. Well, I have a website. It's fourpillarsconsultinggroup.com. They can go there. Um, there's also an email address, info@fourpillarsconsultinggroup.com. And I'll just throw out my Gmail address too. It's Gmail, it's gsavage152@gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn, Gerry Savage on LinkedIn, with Jerry with a G. It's a little bit different than the Jerry with a J. Um, and so those are just a couple of ways that people can reach out to me.
Excellent. Well, we'll have this on the website too. You can always reach out to Tremendous Leadership. So, Jerry, thank you so much for the honor of bringing you this beautiful parable. I loved it. I read so much heavy literature, leadership stuff. You're right. I love it. But it's always wonderful to just read a beautiful story, and especially knowing you and how it brings together all these different aspects of your life. Thank you so much for sharing with our readership.
Oh, Tracy, it's great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about the launch coming up here in October, and looking to see what feedback that we get from the people that start reading the book.
I love it. And speaking of that, to our Tremendous Leadership fans, please, if you're not a subscriber to our email list, get over to tremendousleadership.com. We also have a page where you can stay specifically involved in what Jerry's doing, what he's doing, where he's going, and reach out to him for possible consulting or speaking. And when we do the launch day, we're going to have some special launch deals. So make sure and go over to Amazon on that day and get it, or come over to Tremendous Leadership. And to our fans, thank you so much. We wouldn't be around here if you weren't reading tremendous books. And as my father always said, you're going to be the same person 5 years from now, except the people you meet and the books you read. So you've just met the tremendous Gerry Savage, and you're about to meet read a really tremendous book called The Janitor. Thank you all for being a part of this. Have a tremendous rest of the day. Bye bye.